Have you ever noticed something that feels deeply unfair? People who are honest, kind, and genuinely good often seem to get pushed aside. Meanwhile, those who are clever with words, manipulative, and strategic appear to move ahead faster. They're praised, trusted, even seen as successful. From the outside, it looks like the world rewards those who are willing to play dirty. And at some point, many good people quietly start asking, am I the one doing something wrong? In social life, these two types often exist side by side. One believes in sincerity, empathy, and good intentions. They assume kindness will be met with kindness. The other sees the world like a chessboard. Every interaction is a move, every person a piece. They aren't always cruel, but they're highly aware of how to use situations to their advantage. The problem is, the world often seems friendlier to the second type. Good people tend to play by unwritten moral rules. They tell the truth, even when it costs them. They hold back to avoid hurting others. They believe a good reputation will protect them. But social systems don't always operate on moral logic. They operate on perception, and perception can be shaped, guided, even manipulated. This is where Machiavellian thinking comes in. It's not about villains or extreme cruelty. It's a mindset, a way of seeing people as tools rather than ends. Those with this tendency don't focus much on right or wrong as long as the outcome benefits them. They know when to smile, when to show sympathy, and when to disappear without guilt. What makes it more complicated is that they rarely look like villains. Often, they're the most charming person in the room, the most confident, the most convincing. They understand something essential about human nature. Most people don't seek truth, they seek comfort. And the most effective manipulation is the kind that makes others feel like they chose freely. Meanwhile, good people often fall into a common trap, assuming everyone plays with the same intentions. They give trust too quickly, offer understanding without limits, and when betrayal happens, they blame themselves instead of the system. They think, maybe I'm just too naive. But the issue isn't naivety, it's an imbalance of strategy. There's another concept that quietly plays a role: moral licensing. When someone sees themselves as a good person, they subconsciously give themselves permission to do small, harmful things without guilt. Manipulative people often exploit this. They perform goodness in public, then feel justified doing harm in private. Their moral image becomes a shield, not a compass. That's why they often seem protected from consequences. They have excuses, narratives, a carefully built image. Honest people, on the other hand, rarely construct stories about themselves. They believe actions should speak for themselves. Unfortunately, in social environments, actions without narrative often lose to narratives without action. The Dark Triad may sound extreme, but in its mild form, these traits are everywhere. A bit of narcissism to appear superior, a bit of manipulation to win arguments, a lack of empathy when it's convenient. Not monsters, just people highly trained in reading social weaknesses. What's rarely visible is the price they pay. Manipulative people live with a constant fear of losing control, because once others become aware, the game is over. They must always manage impressions, anticipate reactions, and adjust their masks. There's no room to truly relax. Trust isn't a bond for them, it's a liability. Good people may lose faster, but they often possess something manipulators don't: inner calm. They can sleep without replaying scenarios. They don't have to remember which lie was told to whom. But the world rarely gives immediate rewards for that kind of peace. At some point, good people feel tempted to change, to become a little colder, a little harder, a little more manipulative. That temptation is human. Losing repeatedly makes anyone question their principles. But becoming manipulative isn't the only way to survive. There's a big difference between awareness and cruelty. Survival doesn't mean losing empathy. It means knowing your boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing that not everyone deserves full access to your kindness. Manipulators don't win because they're smarter, but because they play without limits. Good people often lose because they give too much. The problem isn't that you're kind, the problem is being kind without protection. The social world is not neutral. It favors those who understand its dynamics. But understanding the game doesn't mean becoming the dirtiest player. It means knowing when to step back. There's power in clarity. Honest people who are firm are harder to manipulate. Empathetic people with boundaries are often more respected. Kindness without awareness is fragile. Kindness with awareness is far stronger than manipulation. Manipulative people seem to win because we judge life from the outside: status, influence, recognition. We rarely see the psychological cost, the constant tension, shallow relationships, the fear of losing position. Their life is a stage with no place to rest. This isn't a black and white story. Good people aren't automatically pure. Manipulative people aren't always conscious of what they're doing. But understanding these patterns gives you something important: the choice. The choice to stay kind without becoming a victim. The choice to be firm without becoming cruel. If you've ever felt like you lost because you were too honest, too sincere, too caring, maybe you weren't wrong. Maybe you just hadn't learned how to protect yourself yet. The world doesn't need more manipulative people. It needs good people who are aware. Because in the end, victories that look fast often come with long-lasting fear, and peace that looks quiet is often built on consistent honesty. The choice isn't between being good or winning. It's about how to remain yourself without letting the world consume you.